Hi, I'm Russ, an independent filmmaker and actor in New York, and in between the chances I get to do my creative projects, I love to sit down and talk with other artists to see how it is they do what they do, how they take art and use their craft to reveal truth to an audience. So in this series of conversations, you'll meet some people you may recognize, some people you won't recognize, but they're all independent artists, and we'll get in depth in a long-form conversation to see how it is they do what they do. Welcome to Art, Craft, Truth. This conversation brings us to Sean King. Sean is an independent filmmaker, director, and cinematographer in New York. We're old friends. We've collaborated on a lot of projects together, and his work as a cinematographer has earned him accolades and awards in film festivals all over the country. He's been a writer, a producer, a director. He's done documentaries, he's done features, he's done shorts, he's done every possible kind of independent project as a filmmaker, and I think you'll find his process fascinating. Sean King. I got 6 pairs of glasses because I keep fucking dropping them everywhere. All right.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
So
I believe I'm rolling. Am I rolling on? Did I roll on that? This is the part. This is the, like, when you subscribe to Patreon, you get all this. You get all the shit.
Who wants to miss this stuff? This is
awesome.
gold.
All right. That's how productions
Yeah.
are done, Sean. All right. All right, my friend. I think I've settled myself in. I took my mask off. I got my pants on.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about
You got
myself.
your indoor pants on?
I got my big boy pants on.
Pandemic pants?
Right, yeah. Let's put that level down a little bit. Okay, check. Hey, all right. So,
Yeah. So,
once again, Sean, welcome.
thanks so much, Russ. I'm happy to be here. This is my first podcast.
You're happy to be anywhere.
I'm happy to be out of the house.
Yeah. So before we even get into everything else, what you in the midst of all this nuts in the world, this craziness, what did you just go through, man?
Yeah. Well, maybe we should preface by saying we're in October of 2020, the legendary year, I guess. Right. Time will tell.
Right. We're going to keep these as evergreen as possible, but
yeah.
But you know what?
We'll go a little bit back into the
context,
year.
Yeah.
It's a wild time, but I had a wild year where I had a organ transplant, kidney transplant.
Jesus.
And I waited till 2020. I heard good things were going to happen this year, so I figured let's wait till then.
Right.
Opportune time. No, but it was actually a great time because like a lot of us in the film biz, video biz, whatever it is, we're out of work.
Yes.
So I figured, okay, that was a good time to take care of this thing that's going to take, I thought, a few months, 3 months or 4 months.
Right.
Wound up taking an extra 5 or 6 months because of the...
Yeah, right.
When you have a transplant, you got to make sure that everything is sterilized, everything's super clean, and you're going to be immunocompromised for a while because you have a transplanted organ from somebody, and you got to take these pills to knock your immune system down.
Right.
So
you get any psychedelic benefits out of those pills? Or?
No. You get skin cancer. You get
that's good. Oh, good.
Fatigue.
So there is something.
Weight gain, hair loss, all the good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
But I was so lucky to have amazing friends like you and family help me out the whole time, and an amazing friend who was a living donor, my friend Lori Heckman. So she saved my life.
That's unbelievable how that came around and how quickly that happened. So that was, when was the actual operation as to where we are today? How long?
Today would be 8 weeks exactly.
8 weeks. So hence we are at a good 7.5, 8 foot social distance. So.
Yeah. So we're, this time 8 weeks ago, I was split open like a turkey, and, they were carving me out like Thanksgiving. So.
Wow, man.
They took out an 8-pound kidney, which was that big about.
Holy balls.
Yeah, it was like having an 8-pound C-section baby from a man.
Do you get to keep that and put it in a jar? Or?
No, I wanted a piece of it. I wanted a picture or something, and they said, no pictures. So, it's mine.
That's
right. Take a fucking picture.
You should at least get your kidney, man. I mean, you came into the world with it. So
I got a new one, and it's working great, so I'm so thankful.
Feeling good?
I feel better now than I did in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know how sick it was a chronic kidney disease.
Right.
And it's kind of like people say, "Oh, I have an invisible disease," but it was one of those things where nobody could really tell.
Right.
And you don't have symptoms so much; you just feel shitty.
Right.
But it's not like a life-changing thing.
Right.
Until you get the new one, you're like, holy fuck, I was sick.
Wow.
And I was just, tired and, no appetite and all this other stuff. So it was one of those things where I didn't know how sick I was until, a few weeks ago when things started to work again.
Well, yeah. I'm so glad everything worked out and you're feeling great, because we got to get you back out there and working and doing the things we do.
I can't wait.
Which is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about crazy shit like that. So let's start right at the beginning, because I don't know. I mean, I've known you probably for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. We've worked together on a lot of different projects, but I don't know a whole lot about the whole history.
Wait, we met at the party where I broke the ice sculpture, remember?
I didn't know you broke the ice sculpture.
Oh, yeah,
that was a July 4th party.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we met at a party, and I think you were shooting, or you might have been filming or something.
Yeah, I had one of those.
You had the DVX 100.
I love that camera. Which was
the first 24p mini DV camera back when that came out.
That's right.
And I had just got one myself a few years earlier, or 2 years earlier, whatever. And I was like, hey, that guy's using my camera.
You could all spot each other out in the wild. Yes. They're like, oh, that's a pro right there. That's a pro.
Right. It's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I got to talk to him.
Yeah, because, where we are, you have to know what other people are doing.
Yes.
And it's where we are is Long Island, New York. And it's like, it's a little skin tag on New York City. But in that skin tag, you want to know exactly what everybody else is doing. Because you can't let something happen without trying to be involved in it or knowing who it is or how to get involved. And I'm sure that goes for a lot of smaller film
I never
communities.
thought of it as a skin tag, but that's really interesting. A skin tag on the ass
what else is it? I don't want to demean it, but that's, when you say I'm a filmmaker in New York, everybody thinks, oh, you're
right.
You live in Brooklyn or Queens or Manhattan.
Right.
And no, we work there a lot.
Hey, we got a lot of good, stuff out of the water in this place. A lot of good talent came out of here.
I'm not complaining. I mean, Eddie Murphy?
There's Gazillion, Seinfeld, and Baldwin's and all those guys.
No,
Billy Joel, etc.
Although they would say they came from New York.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
It's all right, whatever they want. So yeah, we met way back when. But like I said, I don't know much about you before that. So you're a filmmaker, a cinematographer, a director, and you've done all different kinds of things in all different kinds of mediums. When you started, did you start like a lot of us did with like a Super 8 and all that stuff as a kid? Like, what was your childhood like? And did you always want to do this kind of a thing?
I guess the first thing I connected with, the first thing I saw, that I was born in 75. Mm-hmm. So the first two things that left an impression that probably moved me emotionally most was some of the earliest memories I had of watching The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The
Charles Lawton? Or?
No, the Lon Chaney.
Oh, Lon Chaney.
Yeah. So that was a big deal. And then The Elephant Man too.
John Hurt.
Yeah, the David Lynch Elephant Man. And my mom would let me watch anything basically at that time, and my dad too. They weren't really. This was 1980 or something like that.
Sure.
So we were going in. We were in a time where children were left unsupervised. And,
yes, the Generation X, my friend.
Yeah, the great times that
they left us alone.
The great times that kids now fantasize about,
right.
Or it's the opposite of that now. So it was the free range kids everywhere. And from the 70s to the 80s, it was just such a great time for all entertainment, movies, television, music, and so we were just left to find all that stuff on our own. But I remember watching The Elephant Man and The Hunchback, especially the scenes where they were getting whipped or getting humiliated and abused and stuff, and I just was like, I would sit there and cry, and kind of empathize with those characters, and that was the first time that I guess I empathized or kind of sympathized with another character other than a living person.
Okay, all right.
So that kind of, I guess that made me wonder why I'm having these feelings, and then, and then I watched E.T. and all those blockbusters that came in.
And 81, 82, 83.
Yeah, and there was some just great stuff for a kid to connect with
sure.
with other kids and on fantasies and adventures and things.
Did you have friends and you all kind of did that stuff like we all did and created all your own shit? And...
Oh, we went on treasure hunts and with our bikes and
right.
looking for aliens.
You're the fucking Goonies, man.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
you were. I get it. You were the Goonies.
Yeah.
So you watch all this stuff and it stirs these feelings in your body,
Yeah.
and you don't know how to explain them.
Right.
So you're starting to really examine.
Then
that.
I'm 12 years old, and then
then things take. So, but when's the first time you decide? Let me try this. Like beyond just the fantasy games of children, where you're like, let me. Well, can I shoot this? Can I act in it? Can I? What were the first things you did?
Yeah, that was. It was. I think it was probably around. I was 13, and I don't know if anybody else did this, but around like the fall, me and my brother, we'd go sneak around the house looking for like the stash of Christmas presents that we were gonna get, So my mom had a stash in the closet, and there was boxes that she bought from Sears on a credit card or whatever. And I saw one. It was a Zenith VHS compact VHS camcorder.
Sweet.
And I was like, oh shit, who's that for? It was for my mom. She bought it for herself, but I immediately took it out of the closet, opened it up. The thing was sitting in the closet. I couldn't let it just stay there.
Of course not.
Right?
Of course
you
not.
wouldn't have let it just stay there.
Well, I don't know about that, but
it could not have been for you. So
Yeah,
what
right.
the fuck? I'm taking this thing before someone else gets it. So I don't know how she felt about it. I don't remember her really having an issue with it because I took it out of the box and I was using it like an hour later, and I called my friends over and we would just start recreating funny scenes from.
That's great.
Like everybody starts,
Sure.
just you're recreating those funny scenes or those gory scenes or those those. I can't imagine a kid, a 12-year-old
for me it was
kid.
Star Trek scenes.
Yeah,
and shit like that,
exactly. You're not gonna go do a Bergman scene, right, when you're 12. You're gonna do Alien. You're gonna do Star Trek. You're gonna do, So that's what we did. We just made. And I say we, me and like a couple other kids in the neighborhood who would tolerate this kind of thing, and just entertain me for a while. And then a few of them stuck with it, and there was probably 3 or 4 kids who just kept coming back every, after school or on the weekends. We would just go do it. We had one tape.
Just
I had
tape
one
over
tape. Yeah, and we would film it and edit it in the camera. We'd make Terminator 3 after Terminator 2 came out, and then we would, we'd watch it for a weekend or a week or two, and then we would be like, all right, let's make another one. You couldn't afford another tape, so we'd have to rewind that and tape over it.
That's awesome. So were you always the what were you? Were you the director? Were you the actor? Were you, who was running the show? Was it you?
Everything. There was nobody else who would want to do everything except me.
A lot of that hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was good training ground. Because there was always the kid who just wanted to act, and there was always the kid who just wanted to party.
That's right.
There was one who wanted to meet girls, and one who wanted to do.
Like I said, none of this has changed at all.
Yeah. So it was, but you never thought about that's how a system works.
Right.
That's just what you did.
Right.
So yeah, but there was a few movies that I saw when I was around that age that really made me think about directing and filmmaking. And
all right, what's that? And what age are we talking about? With like 12, 13 kind of now?
Yeah, I think this was probably 1980. I was 10 or 12.
10 or 12, okay.
Yeah, something like that. I think, it was 85 and 87 because the movies were The Evil Dead and The Evil Dead 2, okay? So, and I'm a huge fan of that series. Probably because that was the first, The Evil Dead, I saw it on VHS tape, and I grew up in the time of the video store and the drive-in movie and stuff. It's just the golden time to be a kid into like this stuff. And again, my dad would let us watch anything. Like he took us to the drive-in to see Deathstalker, and I can't imagine what he was thinking, but any kind of Star Wars ripoff, Conan ripoff, Mad Max ripoff, we just went to see. Right. If it's an alien in it, a robot or a demon or something, we were there. But Evil Dead was weird. Evil Dead was way different because it was grainy. It wasn't like, even as a kid, you knew these weren't professionals doing this. You saw bad effects. You saw all these flaws that you'd never imagined were there before.
Right.
And then a veil was lifted.
Right.
Because you saw like a monster, you saw a tube coming out of their makeup and spurting blood, and you're like, oh, what's that? Like somebody the tube goes down off the screen,
Right.
and there's somebody down off the screen,
Right.
pumping or like, what are they doing?
Right.
So like a lot of kids who are into like horror stuff, I went into doing my own makeup effects, and then it's like, oh cool, we can do this makeup effect, but we got to film it. So you learn,
Right.
okay, I'm going to do the makeup effect and then film it.
Right.
And then the ideas get bigger and the things get bigger, and
Right.
you need more friends to help out. And then it was just it was basically, and that's what's sad about things. There's some amazing entertainment now.
Yes.
There's incredible technology, but the thing that's missing are those flaws.
Yes.
Those flaws inspired generations of filmmakers,
Right.
and I think people are maybe more inspired now, but in a different way, not by the flaws.
Right. I want to talk more about that because that gets into the whole art and craft version of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, lift that mic up and out a little bit. 'Cause
Okay.
Just up and then and down a little bit. Now say something for it because you get
Check.
There you go,
check.
nice and
Okay.
clear. Yeah,
There
because
we go.
it's
We're getting to the
directional.
side.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so you see this, and it's the flaws that inspire you to want to get behind the scenes and start doing this stuff.
Yeah.
You should give Sam Raimi a call and say thank you for my entire life.
Well, I'm one step away now at this point. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
you're one degree away from you're one Kevin Bacon away from Sam Raimi.
yeah, which is totally weird. But I don't want to get ahead of anything.
right.
But it was just like,
That's
like a
neat.
13-year-old me would be like, "What is this? This is not reality right now."
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Well, thanks.
We'll pay attention to whatever that becomes. So what's the first thing you do? What's the very first thing? And first of all, when do we get past let's get you, did you go to in school, in high school and stuff? Are you starting, is the technology getting better and you starting to, doing things that are a little more, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky in my high school to have a great television department.
No
right?
shit.
Yeah,
Where'd you go to school?
Hop Hog High School in Long Island, New York.
Well, I didn't have shit in my high school.
We had a studio. You had a control room.
Oh, stop.
You had like 4 deck-to-deck
No shit.
VHS, editing machines with like, you have two tracks
Wow.
of sound that you can mess with. And
Cool.
So it was awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was like the cable access, the local cable station.
Right,
it was
right.
like almost the equivalent of that.
Wow.
And we had 2 television, teachers, professors or whatever they were,
right.
So, and they would let us take out cameras and again, I say us, this is now we're getting into like friends you meet in high school that are more serious about it. And,
Right.
they're fans of, they're Star Wars fans, or they're,
Sure.
they're into, theories more, and you
Right.
start to geek out a little bit more
Right.
into stuff. And so then you latch onto them, and then you take out cameras, and you got a light now, now we know how to light stuff or
Right,
whatever.
right,
And then, this new camera has a plug where you put a microphone in. Oh shit. And then we can learn how to do that stuff.
Right.
And then we can go and edit properly.
Right.
You have 2 tracks of sound on a VHS tape.
Yeah.
And now we can do sound effects.
Right.
So, so once that kicks you into a higher level of stuff, and then it just, then you buy your first prosumer camera.
Right. What was that for you at that time? Do you remember, do you even remember the model number?
That was the DVX, I
Oh,
think.
that was the first one?
Well, friends, let me go to this. After high school, I didn't go to college. I never imagined having enough money ever to go to college. Nobody ever pushed me to go to college.
Me too.
But yeah, it was because I saw all my friends going for. I never saw anybody going for film or anything. I didn't really. Film school was just this like unattainable, expensive thing at NYU or
right UCLA.
Yeah, you just never even imagined. My family had never had any money or anything like that, and I didn't like to work, so I was like, fuck that. But some friends and I, we started doing cable access, like movies for cable access.
Okay.
And we did our own sitcom. We did our own sketch comedy stuff.
Now, is this the Slack Pack?
Yeah, this is the Slack Pack,
All right.
right? Slacker TV, it was called. And then then I was like sketches and stuff. And then we did a few years of that. And we changed it into like a more of a sitcom, narrative thing. And
What was the bent of the thing? What style are we talking? Like an SCTV kind of thing, or just goofier?
Yeah,
or what?
yeah. It was like all the sketch comedy that we appreciated at the time. The Kids in the Hall, or you know, Saturday Night Live, or
right.
SCTV was one of them. Yeah. And then we were like, a couple other guys were like, well, we want to tell stories too. You know, we don't want to just do sketches. We want to tell a 3-act thing or something like in a half an hour or whatever they'll let us get away with it. The local cable station. And then we started experimenting with short films and kind of editing them down to put on cable access, and started producing a feature-length movie that took 10 years.
What was the name of that?
That was called The Freaks, Nerds, and Romantics. So that was...
Is that available anywhere that anybody can see it?
I'm sure if you go to Vimeo, it's on Vimeo or something like that. It never got... I mean... but yeah, it was basically like with a gang like that, and committing to being at the cable station at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning to hold your airtime slot, you know, what you had to do.
Right.
So, you know, and at that time, I mean, we're 25 years old, and nobody else is gonna fucking get up at, you know, Saturday
morning.
Yeah, what the fuck? You're crazy. And then you meet those people in line next to you,
right?
And then they're like, well, it's crazy fuckers here like me, so maybe we should, you know, do something together.
That's how this whole thing evolves, right? I mean, what a lot of people don't understand about our industry, at the highest level to the lowest level, is it's all this referral. Who do you know who did that? Hey, what are you doing? Yeah. And then before you know it, your circle gets bigger and you're starting to work with all different kinds of people. I mean, so it started that early for you. So how long did you do the Slacker TV thing? Like how many, like was it every week? Was it a weekly thing? And then for how long did you do it?
Yeah, we roughly like shot for every week. I can't remember how many like episodes we did, but we did it for 1997 to 8 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 7 years. We did it for 7 years. And we got it on like Long Island cable access. We got it in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, everywhere, like as far as we can go, you know, as far as we can take it into that small sphere.
Do you, at that point, do you have fans? Are people responding to it?
Yeah, that was great because people would write in, you know, this was like, you had your Juno email account, you know, like your first email ever set up, and we had like a fan club where you can write us letters and you send we had a newsletter where we went to Kinko's, and that's not even a thing anymore, but we Xerox shit and put a stamp on it and sent it out to like the fans and stuff. And yeah, so that was so much fun. And then that kind of just turned when that stopped. While we were doing that, I'm sorry, let's go back a little bit about like getting into a more professional realm. But one of the guys on the show, Mike, he got into a car wreck and he got a settlement, and we took like the $2,000 or whatever he bought that he got from the settlement, and he bought like the first digital DV camera, just some Canon. Yeah, it was the Canon H1 or something.
Ed, what was the Canon that one?
Like the first one.
The L1.
That was it.
With the one with the thing on the back that looks like a film mag.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was the step down from that one. It wasn't the XHA1 or whatever. It was the one before.
The one before that.
Yeah, it was like the one you can go to like, you know, B&H in the city and get. It was the base level one. And then we were like, oh shit, we're digital now. Like we can. And then we started editing digitally, and then you start to work with who has a digital editing system. Nonlinear editing system. You got to go to this guy. Right. So that's what happened, and then the movies just reflected the effort put into everything, and then, you know, and then people fell off when it got too real, and then people came on when it got more real.
That's interesting. So that core group of, you know, the Slacker group and then kind of the neighborhood group, it morphs into something else. It obviously changes, right? So that now when you're stepping up ready to shoot something, there's a different group of guys.
Yeah, I think what it is, it's because like now you're 25 or 30, you know, and we're doing our next TV show called the Ghouligans, you know, and then we're doing, you know, we're going home and sculpting, you know, prosthetic makeups and, you know, staying up for 12 hours and, you know, like hot gluing costumes, and then so-and-so's girlfriend is going to help with the costumes and the makeup and the catering and blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes a system, which if you're lucky enough to have great friends and people helping you out works.
Right.
But at 25 and 30, you start losing people to careers and
marriages
and kids and
right.
bullshit like that, So, and we're like, all right, whatever, somebody else will come in and still help out, hopefully.
Right. Yeah. We're going to get into the Ghouligans, which was a whole other section that launched into that. But as far as the experience of the independent filmmaker, what you're giving us is the picture for almost all of us in some fashion or another. Well, absolutely, because I mean, you're going to find, the Spike Lees and the whoever's of the world who, did the NYU and cast their first films at a backstage, did their thesis project, or the Quentin Tarantinos and the Sundance project, and how these guys exploded. But the essence of what we do is the same. It's this sort of, what do you have? What do you have? You got that?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we put on a show?
Yeah.
And it's that spirit is so necessary. And what people don't realize is that doesn't change any as you go on. It's the circumstances are different, but the spirit of that is the same.
Yeah, I think the effort changes, and kind of
the expectation of a little more excellence and quality changes.
Absolutely, yes, and absolutely. And then also you don't want to take advantage of people like you used to, even though they're there willfully, and you just want to respect people a little bit more because they're they do have a husband or wife at home and a kid, and you're taking that time very seriously suddenly, and then that along with your other things start to weigh down on you a little bit more rather than just like, I don't have to go to work today. Fuck that. I'm going to make a movie, which, and I guess, you're right. I just never think about how many other, creative people, are in that same position. Because everybody's different. Some people are privileged. Some people just have the talent and the kind of the charisma to do it, and just kind of just create things out of nowhere. But to other people, it's decades and decades of that. It's just, giving favors and receiving favors and all that other stuff, and that's just that's where we're at still now, and hopefully of course we would love to pay professionals what they deserve, and
you can only do what you can do with what you got on a production, and it changes with the resources you have, it changes with the people you have. So before we get into some craft stuff, to move on to one of the biggest chunks of content in your career was the Ghouligans. We're good? What's up?
We're at 30 mark. 30.
That should run. That should just now run. Okay. Thank God.
Amazing.
So now we're at the big content of your career, which was the most content in a chunk. There was the Ghouligans. Talk about what was the Ghouligans. I get a kick out of this because I grew up with the same kind of television shows you did. So what was it, and how did you guys do it?
So it was pretty much just that what you said. It was after we did our silly like sitcom, slacker thing. We had an opportunity. The same group of guys. That's Pete Bune, Michael Kosick, and myself, and a few other people. I can sit here all day.
Right, there's so many. I think I was even involved at some point.
Of course, no, you were involved many times. I don't know if you remember all of them.
I don't.
I remember you in a studio that was 129 degrees,
shooting,
and shooting and fucking, and a pool of sweat underneath.
Right. So. I forgot about that.
Yeah. See, you forgot because you want to forget it.
Yes.
So once we were done with that stuff, I had an opportunity myself to pitch some things to. This was 2004. So you got to think, this was going into 2005. So this was right before YouTube was a thing.
Right.
Before this, we actually had, as the Slack Pack, we had a little job with a local newspaper here in Long Island called Newsday, right? Mm-hmm. And Newsday. I think I sent in a letter. I wanted them to do a piece on our TV show. We were always just cold calling or cold writing newspapers or whatever, just to tell them what we were doing and see if they wanted to write an article about us or something, So I sent the letter in, and they replied saying their entertainment section replied, a representative from their new nightlife section, and they said we're not interested in talking about your show. We're interested in you producing your show for us.
Wow.
We want you to do 13 webisodes. And we were like,
what the hell's a webisode? Right. Nobody knew what that was.
Nobody knew what the hell that would. It wasn't even a thing.
Right.
But they had a website built. They had a player in the website where you can download a little, 5-minute video and wait there for 3 hours, and it pops up
Right.
on a little player, and you press the, Remember those players?
Yeah.
You can change the shape of them and stuff.
Right.
So we said sure, and they wanted us to go and do reviews of like local bands, local bars, and restaurants and clubs.
Right.
And then we would do a sketch there, like a funny, like, oh, we got mixed up with these gangsters at this this Italian restaurant or something, and then they would air that every Friday. We did 13 of them, but nobody watched them because nobody knew how to download a video.
Right.
This was 2003.
Right.
So nobody knew how to download the video, so nobody watched it. So we got canceled. So we were always trying to get something like that going again, where we got we had a budget, we got paid. That was our first
Okay.
That's the first professional
There
job.
you go. Somebody gave you
so,
some money
yeah.
for something.
So it was the newspaper Newsday that bought 13 episodes of our show.
Right.
And that felt great. That was amazing.
Right.
And we were like, this is it, guys. Like, next, it's going to be a 30-minute show on Channel 11, because they owned, like, Channel 11 or some shit like that. They're like, oh, they're grooming us to have our own sitcom. So, yeah, once nobody knew how to download video, we were out of there. And the stuff was trash. It was really bad, because it was all our friends and stuff. And it was just, whatever we could scrape together for, I think the budget was $1,000 a piece.
Right.
And then after that, there was 4 of us, so after it get split up between the 4 of us.
You could buy each other a cup of coffee.
Yeah, we got $11.50 for you got $11.50 for the budget,
That's sweet, man.
We should have taken it more seriously, and that's what we learned doing our next thing when we had I had an opportunity to pitch some things to some horror channels that were starting.
Okay.
And it was unclear if they were cable stations or if they were like YouTube's streaming things, because at the time people were just like, oh, internet video is the thing. So
Sure.
I think they were trying to do that, and they were looking for content. And we, as the slack pack, the 4 of us pitched 3 demo things, just 5-minute little demos. Right. One was like a ghost story thing. One was like a horror review show with a Siskel and Ebert, with horror movies. And then the other one was the 4 of us doing our sketch comedy type of stuff, but dressed as monsters in like a Munsters 1960s kind of vibe, like a 60s sitcom that we grew up with, on Nick at Night or the local kind of rerun station. Sure, because we loved Dick Van Dyke, we loved Bewitched, The Munsters, right. I Dream of Jeannie, Gilligan's Island, we just worshiped those things, and there was a time there in the early 2000s where there was a retro thing happening, so we kind of rode that little retro inspiration, and we did 4 funny monsters. There was a Frankenstein creature, a wolfman, a zombie, and a vampire, all doing funny monster trope things. So
with a 60s vibe.
Yeah, with 60s, the 60s,
70s kind of,
it had the surf rock and stuff.
Yeah, right,
so all the things the Munsters kind of pioneered.
Did you have were they called the Ghouligans at that point? Did you have a name?
Yeah. We pretty much had, aside from a few character tweaks. I mean, it's pretty similar to what came after it,
Right.
I mean, aside from the designs of the characters evolved and the kind of, we explored the characters more, but yeah, the pitch was pretty much what it was for a while.
Right. So I want to push ahead, because you guys do that for a long time. You get, there's a whole fan base that it becomes a thing. It becomes a
little thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that just like we did the cable access thing for 7 years. We did the Ghouligans. We did that for 10 years. We did the Ghouligans for 10 years.
Right.
And we stopped that 5 years ago from now.
And it was always episodic things, right? It was like a series of half-hour bits or whatever.
Well, learning from the having the kind of hindsight of why the web videos didn't work for Newsday, we did our own website, and we made it easier for people to download our first batch of 12 sketches.
Right.
And they were 3 minutes, so you can download them in 45 minutes and watch them. And then we were like, let's do a 45-minute pilot of like a longer form thing of sketches, and then we were like, and then we started touring around the country in costumes.
That's
and
crazy.
Doing like live hosting and live comedy and things like that.
You guys did a lot of the convention circuit too, like the horror stuff.
Right, like all the not all the Comic Cons, but you know, that's just a good way to go into it. Like the Comic Cons, the horror shows, like the horror conventions and stuff.
Now, at these conventions, as the Ghouligans, as your own entity, are you meeting all the horror heroes of your of your youth?
Yeah, because sometimes we were lucky enough to get booked as like guests and entertainers at these things.
Right.
And then you kind of go into like the kind of the green room or whatever, and you know, the holding area for other people, and you're just like, but like you see, you know, Elvira there, or you see fucking Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, you know.
That's awesome.
But and you're like, oh shit, I'm like, I gotta say hi to Robert Englund. Like, I love Freddy. Right. But then you realize that you're
dressed
wearing
as a monster.
Yeah, you're dressed as a Frankenstein, and you're like, oh, shit. And then so we wound up just being in the corner, you know, just making each other laugh, and you know, not mingling too much because. I'm sure Robert Englund doesn't want to talk to a blue-faced skeleton guy, you know. Like, he gets enough of that already. Right. You don't want to be the guy when he's like, you know, having tea, like, you know.
Right.
But we had such a great time meeting fans.
Yeah.
And people that appreciated what we did and got it.
Yeah, yeah.
And scaring kids, which was like the greatest thing, the greatest honor I ever had in doing anything, because like we would get a little crazy at these shows, and there was the parents would bring their kids. Like you know, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, and this first time these kids are seeing monsters, they think, you know, that this is like real stuff to them, you know, or if it's not real, it's really cool. Yeah, and they're quite not making out with like what it really is. So we would kind of, you know, see kids come and we'd hide around the corner and, you know, jump out and scare them, and you know, and then parents would bring their kids to come see us to get a picture or something like that, and the parents would be like, all right, go stand with the Ghouligans. And the kid's like, you know, and the kid has to, like, he's looking at us and he doesn't want to turn around to face the camera. And the kid
Can't trust you.
Yeah, the kid starts crying and trying to run back to mom and dad. And they're like, get back to go stand there with the picture, you know? We're just like, shit.
And
like,
that's like the Oscar for you. That's pretty much.
That was it. That was the tops. I could die happy because we made kids cry. Right. You know, we spilled beer on them. It's like, this was the greatest honor, the greatest fun we ever had. And the parents were just like, oh my God, it's so, like, oh, this is the greatest thing.
So great. So in that 10-year period while you're doing the Ghouligans, this is when I meet you, and I want to talk about some of the feature stuff we did that we did together, some of the stuff you did, and then the second half of this we'll get into, you know, kind of how you do it, what things you like, how crafty stuff. But when I meet you, I had already done one feature that I just took a wild swing at. Yeah,
that I wish I was involved in because I saw it and it was awesome, and I was like, shit, I got so jealous when I saw that.
It was a lot of the tremendous mistakes that I made on that first one.
No, that's great.
But when I wanted to do another one, and we had just met, and I wanted to do a picture that, and it was going into a genre that I wasn't my thing. Right. Like I didn't particularly, you know, I'm not the. Everything good? I'm not the biggest horror fan. I love horror, but I'm not. It's not like I'm going to go out to look to make a horror movie.
It's not your main thing, yeah.
But this particular script that I wrote kind of lent itself to that genre, sort of a vampire gothic genre. It was more of a drama with a kind of horror trope on top of it. So I went to you like, well, this is the guy to shoot this one for me. I mean, you know, and you jumped on right away, and that was a fun experience for both of us, I think, and. I'm interested to know what your thoughts were when we first started working together on those things.
I saw what you did. I think you showed me Lower Than the Angels, the first movie, and I was like, shit, that's really good.
And that was like 2005 or 4 or 3.
You had just finished.
I just finished. So 2004, yeah. Right.
So I guess you gave me a DVD or something, and I watched it. And yeah, I had not done a feature before. I was in the middle or starting another feature, like an anthology thing that me and some of the Slacker guys, the Ghouligans guys did, and some other people. So around that time, 2000, was that 07?
I'm going to say 06, 07.
Yeah, that's when we were finishing up that other one, which took a few years. And I was like, oh shit, I have an opportunity to shoot a feature for somebody really talented, and not having done that before, out of the comfort zone, I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. And especially like it was a drama, but it had those, it was horror adjacent, or it had those elements to it. I was like, shit, this is the best. This is such a great opportunity. This is like, I couldn't ask for a better first project to do, outside the bubble,
Right. And
So-
and it was a blast because we were working with we stepped up our equipment a little bit, and we everything all the technical stuff was fun to work with together on it.
I think we kind of had like our first, ideas of departments, and how how the day ran, and like we got to get these scenes in the day and stuff.
Right.
So
I mean,
it was-
we started to rather than just go like putting your hand over your eyes and going, I'll take a wild swing at this. We had that was our first feature where we kind of
you hired professional actors, and your locations were had restrictions and things, so it was like
it was for real. Yeah, that was a blast, and to this day, that's one of my favorite experiences. That it came out pretty good for what it was.
You were happy, I hope.
Right? Yeah. And then we went on to do those Fred Carpenter pictures, which were classics. The classic B crime dramas. Of the Fred Carpenter ilk, but. When I jumped on as producer on a couple of those, and I wanted you right away.
Thank God, because I mean, I think I got a call. This was maybe 2011.
Yeah,
and I got a call from you. I was going into like the grocery store, and you called, and you were like, "All right, so things," because I knew you were involved in this thing. I knew you were cast in this crime flick, this local crime flick from like one of the most notorious local directors that we have here. And again, I was jealous. I'm like, fuck, man. I was like, can I just like be a PA or something? But I didn't know who to contact. I didn't want to ask you, hey, get me on as a PA or something like that, because I was just happy that you got on this thing. And there was some name actors at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And then you called and you said, those people, a lot of those people are gone, and we need you on. And there's little to nothing to work with.
Right.
And like,
we
start in a week. I'm like, fuck yeah, yes, definitely. I'll bring everything. I'll load my car. Let's get this fucking, like you said, let's put on a show, man. I'll bring my lights. Like,
that's right.
Hell yeah, whatever you need, like whatever. And that's kind of what that's what we can get complacent about things and miss that part of that that side of us where we're just like, and especially when things get a little cozy at and you get you're finally making what you deserve and stuff, and and then you're like, all right, come on down. We got 3 lights, one boom mic and a tape, or one card, 132 gig card. Yeah. And now you're just like, but fuck, well, but this is it going to be a 10 or 12 hour day, or is it going to be a 20 hour day? Like, when it should be just like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Like, who cares?
Right. Well, is
it cool? Let's do it.
Exactly. That's what I want to get back to. And this speaks again to our generation of we're a little easier to just step off the cliff, and there's something you lose as you get on, and you get a little more tired, number one, and you get and you got to pay the bills, number two, so you lose a little of that. Hey, let's just do it. But
when I say that, I don't want to interrupt you, but when I say that, I mean, like, if it's you calling me, fuck yeah, let's do it, you know?
Right.
But if it's somebody who I don't know, or got referred to, and they might have a budget, that's when you're like, hold on a second. Let's send me a deal memo, send me the schedule, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So,
but there's a spirit of that I find, especially recently, I'm trying to get back to, because I got real tired of just not getting anything for what I'm.
But you just did it, or you did it. We just did it recently. So
yes, that's true. That's right. Yeah, I didn't want to do it, and I did it.
But are you happy you did it?
I'm happy I did it. We did, for the listeners, we just did. Sean and I just did another short film with another buddy of mine a few months ago. And again, it was another one of these, like, because we hadn't been working in a while because of the world is upside down. It was one of those, like, fuck it, let's just do something. Let's just put something together and do it. Yeah. And that always makes me nervous, because I'm like, I'm going to carry all this shit.
Well, it's part of that. It's part of, like, I've been doing this for 15, 20 years, loading my trunk up with, light stands and heavy C stands and shit, and Shouldn't a PA be doing this?
Yeah. Can I have a roadie?
Yeah. And then also there's like, oh, do I want to abuse this friend's time and this friend? You know, is this an opportunity worthwhile to them and stuff? But I was so happy when you asked if I can help because I wasn't doing anything. I was stuck in the middle of a production of my own, trying, you know, where it was just like not really moving as fast as I wanted to. So I needed some momentum, and you know, and I was.
Right,
like,
you were just editing. You were editing a film. You were in the post production of a film you had shot, right?
Short film. Just
Yeah. So just anything to get the engine going. And I think if there's any lesson in the conversation we're having today for any independent filmmaker, whether they're going the film school route or whether they're doing what we did, where they just picked up the stuff and go, is there's something about that you shouldn't lose that. As tired as you get and as difficult as things get, yes, get what you're worth. Yes, do things at a high quality. Yes, do things at a certain excellence level that you want to. But there is a spirit of that we all started with. That don't forget, it's that spirit that generated the circles. Mm-hmm. You know, the guy you stood in line with at 5 a.m. at the TV station. Yeah, right, he doesn't come into your life, or she doesn't come into your life unless you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go stand. So there's something that even as you continue forward that you have to keep. And I think that's missed a lot now because like you said in the very beginning of this conversation, that there's this sort of. You saw the flaws in Raimi's Evil Dead. You saw the tubes, you know, you saw the blood, and that was an inspiration to do it. Mm-hmm. And now there's this sort of polish that's expected because the price point of all the technology's down, so everybody's thing looks good, and everybody's thing has to sound
you can't
good.
have that tube.
You can't have that tube.
Monster anymore.
And there's
some can do it, some can pull it off, but you know, nobody wants to really see that.
That's the thing about it. You have to. There's a roughness to this art. Yeah. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's not precision, unless you're fucking Stanley Kubrick or something. Fine, but even then, there's an imperfection to it that you want to touch on because that's the truth.
And 2 points. Going back a little bit to how we can't lose that passion and that like let's go for it thing. I think you can maintain that somehow. It's a lot of hard work, like you're trying when you're at a level where some of your work or your professional work is going in a direction where you need it to go,
right? And
you're able to make a living and you're comfortable with that. And then I don't care who you are. I don't think even Scorsese does this at this point. They do favors for somebody. They can't get movies made,
right?
But a lot of people who are fortunate or maybe unfortunate to just get whatever they ask for happen, but a lot of people very professional, I'm sure, highly paid people, highly sought after people still do people favors.
Yeah,
they do things for free.
Yeah,
and I never want to lose that part.
Right.
Like if you were blessed with great fortune and you know our hard work pays off, I never want to lose the fact that I can go do you a favor or we can collaborate on something for a couple bucks, and just because.
Good. I'm glad you said that because I have a whole list of shit I want you to do for free.
Booked, I think. I got to check the calendar. And then also, sorry, one more point about the about the polishedness and the professional. Like that's why we did the Ghouligans, because you saw the seams on the makeup and the sweat coming out and the the bad effects and stuff that we couldn't do because it's like a love letter to that stuff that was going away at that time. And that's, I really missed that, and I think it inspired new filmmakers in a completely different way, in a better way, to see that stuff. And now everything is really polished, really produced, and it feels
it's not analog.
No, it feels like it's made by a fucking bot or a computer or something. And these are like Christopher Nolan movies are perfectly crafted movies, but it doesn't feel like it was made by a human being with a quirk or like a fetish or something, it feels like I can't relate to it. I know it's good, but is it really good if I can't relate to it?
Right.
That's why people like Quentin Tarantino, as weird as that stuff is, and they're beautifully made movies too. Sure. And people give him a lot of shit for having like a foot fetish or something, but at least he and ashamed to show
Right.
that aspect of his personality.
Right.
And what aspect of Christopher Nolan's personality have we seen?
Right.
I don't know.
Sean King shits on Christopher Nolan. Storied 11. This
He
is
can
gonna.
take
It's
it.
going right in the trailer.
Come on.
Didn't
His last movie do tremendously well?
I think
No.
he could do very well. I don't think he's worried about anything I say or you say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a music producer, and at the time when we first did Lower Than the Angels, we had an old analog board, like one of those boards from like with the levers and the knobs.
Yeah.
And the mix of that music is warmer. It's so yeah, all the digital stuff, all the technology is so incredibly precise and all that, but there's a warmth that's missing. That's why people are buying vinyl and shit now.
Yeah.
So and that's what I like about filmmaking and theater and acting and all that stuff is the flaw. Is I like to be aware. That's why I like anamorphic lenses.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
in this second last half, we'll start
absolutely.
talking about all the fun tools and fun stuff we like. But that's why I like anamorphic lenses, for instance, because at the edge of that glass, it falls off.
Oh,
and
the
it's-
top and bottom on a
Yeah,
wide,
yeah,
35 millimeter.
It's out of focus, and
I love it.
and there's artifacts
Yeah.
and lens flares. Before they were cool, I liked lens flares,
right,
because I like to be aware of the camera.
Yeah.
Some people don't want,
Again, they're getting away from that. I mean, some go back, like J.J. Abrams go back for the nostalgia's sake, but that's kind of thin.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, just seeing those limitations back
And I
then.
appreciate a guy like a Roger Deakins, who's an amazing cinematographer,
Right.
who doesn't want you to be aware of the camera.
Right.
He's not a big fan of flares. He's flagging everything, but at the same time, my taste is that stuff, and I think we share that sort of. I want to see some of the rough edges, and I never
Yeah.
heard you talk about the tube thing, but that's exactly right. You
Yeah.
want to see some of the rough edges. So let's talk about cinematography and filmmaking a little bit now, and the craft of it. What are some of the things visually that turn you on? You started with the real raw, B-level horror movies of Raimi, but as you've gone on, what are the pictures you like to see? How do you like to fill the frame as a cinematographer?
It depends on. It's all informed by what happens in what does this character
What
do?
the story is,
what the
yeah.
hell is going on here, and what are we shooting? I think like Dean Cundey said, we were both fans of Dean Cundey's stuff up until Back to the Future, maybe. Yeah. But a brilliant, photographer, cinematographer. But it's like, are you shooting a train going by, or you're shooting, or you're shooting a dinosaur, And it's like, okay, well, we're shooting Jurassic Park, so it's a dinosaur. So, your frame is not going to be from here to here. It's,
Right.
It's going to be a little bit more,
Right, vertical.
because the camera goes up and sees this tall dinosaur.
Right.
And we're not following a train going across a desert or some shit, you know?
Right. So it's really it's the dictates of the story and the plot. But are
Yeah.
there things that turn you on? Like are there particular, like for instance, I love Lubetsky.
Right.
I love like The Revenant and the
Goat,
and,
yeah.
Because what I like about that cinematography is those wide 18, 24 millimeter lenses where the face is in,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And there's something about putting me in that, and I know it's a camera. I like that frame. I like wide angle frames. I like that kind of stuff, that look.
And it looks like you're approaching that character
like
at all
you're right.
times.
Yeah,
So
he's in it, but the
Yeah.
environment is in it as well because it's a
Yeah.
big frame. So that's kind of my things that I like to see.
Yeah.
The guy P.T. Anderson's work, and there's a lot of that.
Lackman?
Yeah.
Right.
So are there types of images, types of things that you are drawn to more?
Yeah, I think like you, we were more informed at a time where there was blockbuster movies and amazing indies in the 70s, and studios started to make indies movies and stuff,
Right.
and we grew up in a time where, coming out of like the 50s and 60s, I think movies were made much more on a wide grand
scope.
scale level, on this scope, the anamorphic scope and stuff, and super scope and shit, just to get people away from their television sets back into the movies. And even if we were watching something from, 10 years ago, if we were watching a Western from, 15 years ago, or a Kung Fu flick from, and it's
Right.
always like this massive frame, you're going like this, holy shit.
Right.
And maybe we watched them on TV where they were cropped, but
Where
they still
pan
had,
and scan them.
yeah, where they had to choose between, Henry Fonda over here or fucking, Lee Van Cleef over here, whatever. So it's like, but it still had those weird artifacts.
Yes.
A strange out of focus, like the bokeh, whatever we call it.
Right.
It's a weird kind of shape in the background, or like what how he shot Close Encounters. Zygmunt. Where it was just like practical lights in the background, just like, and there was no other real source, and it felt like a real living room or a real kitchen and stuff.
Right.
And I think that kind of informed us, like when we got to make movies and we were able to get our hands on some tools.
Right.
We were like, oh shit, now I can get I can get a real wide frame without losing, camera information on a digital chip, and
Right.
like our lens adapters and our like anamorphic adapters and stuff.
Right.
And then we were like I just did the other movie. I wasn't the cinematographer. Nick Montalvo was my cinematographer on the last short we did, but the lead character in this last short that I directed was it's kind of a different kind of pedigree of a young woman who was, a successful young woman, like a beautiful social media influencer, and I was like, well, if this character's of a certain pedigree and kind of has a certain ego, then the lens choice informed me of like, I'm gonna get some really expensive, fancy lenses. And the location was kind of like had an open space plan, and I was like, "Oh, these lenses are going to play great with the character." And then the kitchen area where we're going to be shooting a lot of this stuff, and then we had these lenses that gave great like flares and stuff. So we popped lights up top that shined into the lens and stuff, and backlit her golden hair and stuff. So
the character informs the tool. Always, but pretty the story and the characters.
Yeah, not always. I mean, it could, or the director, whoever you're working for, like because I'm a director and cinematographer, so I come in with a project that I know what I want. Right. But if a director doesn't have an idea and they're depending on you to come up with something, that creative aspect of you being a writer or a director could help.
Sure.
Because a lot of director photographies are probably like, well, you got to tell me what you want, a lot of them are hands off. Like, if you want me to like direct this movie for you, then I need a certain, I need a fucking,
Do you like to operate? You like to camera operate still and do all that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, sure. But honestly, like at my level, I never really have an opportunity to, hire ops, so it's, it just comes out of necessity like everything else.
Right.
But I also do a lot of corporate and commercial films too, and documentaries and stuff. Like that's how this filmmaker makes a living, and this is how that's how this filmmaker is able to pay for the movies that I make, because nobody else is paying for my fucking.
And that's a whole other ballgame.
A whole other industry and a whole other personality. You're dealing with corporations and marketing people and agencies and clients and stuff, and that's a wonderful area to learn about how I imagine a real like Hollywood system movie works, because you're dealing with agencies and clients and fucking corporations,
Right.
So it's a cool, and there's very little space to be creative in these jobs, at least the ones I'm working on, which are like pharmaceutical films and stuff. But there are opportunities to be creative, and most of those people are like, yeah, whatever you think, I don't care. So you're able to experiment a little bit and learn about like, okay, we're shooting a documentary in a doctor's office, what are you gonna, what is the doctor like? Are they laid back? Are they funny? Are they serious?
Right.
That informs you about the camera movement. That informs you about the lighting, the high key, low key. Is it natural lighting? Like what? So I think, and then on those jobs, sometimes we're able to hire camera operators and other DPs and stuff to go do those things, and that's great, But there's always a part of me that, wants to push them aside and grab
grab the
stick.
camera.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think there's like I'm sure, you're seeing somebody act or direct, and you at some point you just want to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of my way. This is my way.
Yeah, no. Well, I'll tell you, I'm a lot easier. I let things slide a lot easier, especially more now than I ever did before.
Well, maybe now you're dealing with more, adequate people too.
That's
so hopefully,
hopefully, yeah. You kind of let them do what they do and just stay out of the way.
Yeah, or somebody you can't possibly approach and say, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah, well, that I'm not afraid of. I'll
Okay,
approach
good.
anybody. Let's
awesome.
All right, so the what are the things you are looking at? First of all, the other thing we did together too was we wrote together. We wrote.
We did.
We wrote screenplays together that we're out there trying to pitch and get and made. Is that still something that's in your circle? Are you still looking to create, from your mind to the page projects? Yeah,
always. Yeah. And I don't think there's probably a producer type out there who doesn't have a script in a drawer,
right.
They've been hit for 15 years or whatever, rewriting it or up to page 32 and can't move on after that. But we did collaborate
on two feature scripts.
On two that are at some level of nowhere and somewhere. You can't say now.
Right.
But I'm also collaborating on another 2 or 3 also at the same time, that are again just kind of like, is lightning gonna strike here? Right. Is God gonna kind of clear the clouds or not? So
now guys like us who are doing all the different things, we're writing, we're shooting it, we're producing it. When you're writing or when you're coming up with a concept, does your cinematographer head come in? Does your director head? Do they all the crafts mix in? Are you seeing pictures? Are you just letting that go to whatever happens, whatever budget you got, or how do you visualize those things when you're writing?
I don't think it's possible. Probably the same for you. And there are writers who never think visually. They never put an iota of camera pans or we crane down, or you're not supposed to do that anyway, apparently. But there's not a line of dialogue. There's not a scene heading or any kind of prose that I write that I don't immediately see first, and then
all right, interesting.
I can't do that, and that comes from probably that same kind of instinct. Made me pick up that camera for the first time, in 1988. So it's like, there's never a moment where I don't visualize things. And if I write something, I try to flourish it. I try to, visualize it enough, but not take anybody else's, opportunity to be creative either. But you want to, I think it goes back to that little struggle of no, I know what's best here. I think I know what's best here.
Right.
And until somebody else who has a better idea comes along and fixes it, this is the idea.
Right.
This is what it's going to be,
Right.
So,
what's it like because you've had to do this, what's it like when that circle closes? When you've written, you go shoot it, it's the picture you wrote. Have you had that experience where you saw it, you put it down, it went up, and there it is? What does that feel like for the filmmaker?
That happened more times. I'm lucky that happened way more times than it didn't.
Really?
Yeah. Because everything always changes,
Sure,
for those
absolutely.
who don't know about production. You're lucky if a third of what you imagine gets anywhere near close to reality. But that's the ultimate kind of, success.
Right.
Is being able to, you're fucking you're master of a circus, you're like ringmaster or whatever, and the lion's going to have its own fucking idea of what it's going to do. And, the trapeze is going to break, somebody's going to fall. But, if the circus does 165 days and one day is perfect, you just want to get as close to that one perfect day as you possibly can.
Right.
And, I'm just really, I don't know, maybe it's something that's in my control. Maybe it's something that I'm just lucky to happen, but I don't
hang
know.
around with all the right people, so that's
that's exactly. No, you're absolutely right. and I feel bad for not saying that first, but yeah, but you know, whether it's your instinct or not of asking the right people to help you, and kind of like my sometimes cinematographer Nick will be, you know, I'll have everything storyboarded perfectly, everything kind of like, and I'll write the 35 millimeter, you know, 85 low angle wide, you know. Like, and I don't know if you're supposed to do that in a storyboard or a shot list or whatever, but I hear like the good directors do that, so I do that. I don't know. I don't know.
I think there's no rules. The rules are whatever.
Yeah,
whatever makes the production work.
Right, but my cinematographer Nick Montalvo is like, he comes on, you know, he sees the boards a week beforehand or whatever, a shot list with all the information kind of spelled out, you know. But I feel bad doing it because like he's a creative guy too.
Right.
But the reaction I know I'm going to get from Nick is, "Oh shit, thanks for my, you know, all my work is pretty much done. I just got to go and I know how to set up you know, a 12K here. I know how to do this. I know how to set up this bounce." So he's like, the hard part's done already. Right. Some people appreciate that. Some people, you know, I'm sure like Lubeski is like, "No, I picked that 16 millimeter lens and, you know, put it in Leonardo DiCaprio's face, you know?
Right.
Because, you know, the director understands that.
Sure. I mean, you're using people for the jobs that they're supposedly good at, and what they and for the art that they bring to it. There's a certain a thing. So I want to we're close to wrap up. So first, what is there anything? I know you mentioned something you don't want to talk about, that there's other things, but is there anything you're looking to do now? Is there you have anything besides some of those scripts on the burner? Is there anything you want to do? Like, is there something you'd love to do that you haven't started, or like what's the dream of to do something right now? Is it a feature? Is it a short? Is it a TV thing? Well, what do you want to do?
I want a job. Get back to work.
It always is work, right?
Well, that's just the sad truth of things. Yeah, I gotta fucking need a job. Yeah. But creatively, I mean, I feel like I told a lot of horror stories and stuff, and I submit these short films that I do to film festivals, and I try to submit to non-genre film festivals sometimes, but they always get kind of like put into a horror box or a horror program or something, which is cool, which is, you know, it's accepted, it's amazing, don't get me wrong. Right. But I would like to make a movie that kind of is genreless and kind of doesn't feel like it could be put into it's a drama or it's a comedy. Or it's like, it'd be nice to do something. I have a few ideas, but it'd be nice to do something that kind of is hard to define and label a genre to. Right. So that would be, you know, that would be cool. I just want to do things that make people be like, even if it's something like 99% of people are like, I don't get it. But then the 1%, 100%, 100,000% gets it. Right. I'm more interested in that one person who gets it 10,000% and not so much what you know,
it's like that one day in the circus that goes perfect for you. You just want to.
We're all chasing that one day. That one day. So if we have that one day a couple of times, I'm happy, and I could just, you know, go do whatever. Yeah.
And I think lastly, if you know, anybody who would be listening to this would be interested in independent filmmaking or how the similarities of how we grew up doing it, but you know, there's the kid who's 12, 13, 14, and now they have access to all this technology, and they can start doing it with their fucking iPhone, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I mean, what advice do you have from your childhood, from your experience, and from where you are now to the kid who wants to be an independent filmmaker? And you can, I mean, everything that it could inform this is all the stuff we talked about, from the tube show into the, like, what do you tell the kids? What should they be aware of in this world now, heading towards that kind of a thing, trying to do the things we do?
Well, damn.
What would you tell them?
To answer that, I would need to know what the world is like now. And I don't think I know what the world is like now. I guess here's the thing, and I made my last short film, Like Me Deadly, because of this. And it's about a social media influencer who kind of, you know, is on a mission to succeed on her, you know, her channel and stuff, and it costs her life, but she succeeds in the goal.
Right. She gets all the likes.
So the priority was to, like, get the likes, but, you know, on her, on her last breath, or on the last light in her eyes, sees that she did it, and so it's a success. So I don't understand what priorities are now. To a 13 or 14, it's like a person who wants to make movies. But the one cliched advice that I would give anybody is to just, nobody's going to come and make your movie for you. Nobody is going to do that. Nobody's going to care as much about your movie as you. It's cool that, your parents bought you a car, but they're not going to make your movie. Like, you're going to make your movie, and you could all the time you could sit there and make excuses why I can't make my movie. You could be making your movie. So just make your fucking movie, shut up and just suck. It's going to suck. Do it again, because your next one will probably be a little better.
Right.
And then, the moment you give up, the rate of failure is 100%, right? But if you don't give up, the rate of failure is 80%.
Right.
So you just gotta think in that 20% zone that something great is gonna happen.
And the more, as we talked about, the more you do that, the bigger your circle of other stupid bastards like us that you get involved with that do it. And the odds are one of those people is going to be the one that lights the fire.
That's right. Yeah. You're going to ruin a lot of lives and a lot of relationships in the process, but it's not really you doing it. It's them doing it too.
Right.
So they're just foolish enough to come along with you. But they're going to grow alongside with you. They're going to grow above you. We've all had people who grew above us and, fell out. Mm. But, there's probably nothing in the world that's going to make me want to stop doing it. Just, if it's how you define yourself, then let it define you, basically.
Awesome. John, thanks, man, for stopping by. This was super fantastic. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
And, hopefully we'll get you on again, and we'll do we'll get some other crazy people on here with us. And
do a round table.
Yeah, we'll do a round table. I like
Hollywood Reporter.
Absolutely. We'll do the Long Island round table. That'd be odd.
Just have a bunch of drinks and just get fucked up.
All right, I'm for it. Thanks, Sean, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it.